This is Dr. Carroll, and this is another video in the Python Files series. So as a refresher, the 4 steps to use a file are: first, open the file, then verify that we successfully opened that file, read from or write to the file, and then close the file. And this video is about the second step, verifying that we successfully opened the file. So how do we do this? We use exceptions. So the syntax, or the general format for this, is we're going to use a try and except blocks to be able to try some code, see what happens, see if it throws any exceptions, and if it does, then we can handle them in the except block. And so the try block has one or more statements, and we start executing them. Now, if one of the statements throws an exception, we stop executing there and we jump immediately into the except block and then handle the except statement or statements that are there. And so if it's in the middle of executing the try block, it will stop, it will jump immediately to the except block and then see how to handle that. So let's see an example of a try except setup with files. And so here we're going to want to import sys for the exit method, and then let's just ask the user for a random file, and let's try and write to that file. And so step 1, open the file. So we're going to obviously need open, so let's open the file name and let's give it the mode that we specified. And open returns a file object, and so let's capture that and assign to the info file object variable. So that's now a reference to a file object, or it will be after we execute this successfully. Now step 2 is to successfully verify that verify that we successfully opened the file. So we do that by placing the open in a try except setup. Now files, unlike much of other things we do in Python, are wrought with problems. And so the file might not exist. The disk could be full. We could lose connection. There's a number of challenges that could present themselves where the code might not execute successfully. And so if it doesn't, then we'll say, hey, I'm not able to open this file. And it's very helpful, especially for a new programmer, to put the file name in there. See what it displays. Maybe it's not the file name you expected. You'd be surprised. Okay, so if you're having problems with files, put in the file name in the print statement and see what's going on with it. And so at this point, we don't know what to do. We couldn't open it, so just exit. And then say, yay, we opened it successfully. Now notice, if the open fails, it won't even assign to info file object. It won't even complete that assignment, because if we're in open and an exception is thrown, it will immediately jump down, display error, unable to open the file name, and then exit. So we'll never see this, it opens successfully. But if it does open successfully, it will assign a reference to the file object here, an info file object, and then it will jump down and it will then display, yay, file opened successfully. Okay, so let's see this running. All right, so let's call it try example. Please enter a file name. So let's just do info.txt, which we'll use. Yay, info.txt opened successfully. It's in the current working directory. It worked. Now that was a relative path name. So what if we said directory that doesn't exist / info.txt? That's going to look for where we are, and then the current working directory for a directory called directory doesn't exist, and then the info.txt file. And ooh, notice it says unable to open directory, and unable to open, and then the file name we specified. Well, that's a lot cleaner than and all these symbols and this traceback error. So that's good. So those were relative path names. Let's give it some absolute path name. So what if we were doing something like into Etsy, because I'm on a Mac, And then let's assume there was a directory that had root access only, and then we wanted to, in that directory, we wanted to write to the passwords.txt file. It says, hey, that's not allowed. And so that it cleanly handles not being able to open a file without throwing a traceback error. That's it for this video. Check out my other videos in this series.